Hello. This is going to be me ranting about various problems I have with Batman Arkham Knight. Bear with me as I've never made a video like this. It's just that seeing my friends urge me to do something like this because I love complaining, I thought I'd take the liberty to rant about this game. It just comes so close to hitting the mark, but it just barely misses it. Please do keep in mind that I love the Arkham series, and I wouldn't be talking about them and 100%ing them several times over if I didn't. It's just that as I played City, and I felt that it perfected a lot of things, it just showed signs that where the series was to go with it becoming more open world. If you know me, I'm very scathing about things I dislike, and I don't really tend to mention the things I do love, but they are there. This is just to voice my frustrations I have that made this game feel like it's the weakest in the trilogy to me. If I don't mention something at all, it's because I have no problem with it at all. And of course, spoilers for both this game's story and City's story, because if you're like me, you somehow went the last 10 years and have never played these until recently. The things that I'll be addressing are the following. The first major thing I want to discuss is the map and the tone of the game and the way that influences everything. The world is massive, and this game's largest double-edged sword is its map. It looks and feels exactly like Gotham City and how it should. The creepy Halloween aesthetic is just perfect, and it's one of the few pseudo-modern Gothams that I like. The problem, though, is that the map takes a lot of time to move around in compared to the last games, and it's a catalyst for one of the game's biggest issues, the car, which, rest assured, we'll get to that later. I still prefer to just grapnel boost around the place and glide, which is very fun, but it just feels like such a kick in the balls when you finally arrive to the place you need to go, only to need the car anyway. The fact that the map is completely open for navigation leads to a really samey and repetitive feeling when it comes to the Predator and combatant sections. Like, have you ever noticed that outside of the main quest, almost every stealth section is on rooftops with open skylines that you can just dip away from at any time? Same with the combat, like with the thugs on the ground and the militia checkpoints, it's all just the same thing over and over again. The problem here just always comes down to the same thing. If you have a fully linear game, like let's say Half-Life for example, everything is hand-constructed for the player. You have this illusion of freedom that you can walk around, but really everything that happens to you, it's the same streamlined experience that the devs create. Think of it like a novel, you know? A Metroidvania like Arkham Asylum also gives you the illusion of freedom, but it still restricts you by your tools. You just feel like you're free because you can choose to go whichever direction you want at the time. Think of that more like a comic, like looking around at the panels. But then you have open world games, like this one, with such an overabundance of freedom that it actually feels restricting. The devs can't handcraft a sequence, because you could appear at any place at any time with any tools and any amount of knowledge. So the game is just at the player's mercy, which can work for something like, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto, but I just really tend to dislike open world games for this reason. The whole thing feels very wide but shallow. My main issue with the game is the combat, and it's all because of one or two problems that predicate several other issues. The first is the combat targeting. I have no idea why, but it's just ass in this game. In City, it was perfect. You could look around while beating one guy up, to then jump to your next target, to then plan to use your special combo takedown on special units, like the shield and stun baton guys. But in Night, Batman almost always targets the shield guys first, and the stun baton guys, and it just ruins your combo and throws you out of the groove. Because Batman targets the special units, and it spawns several more of them in encounters in this game, in fact it feels like sometimes it's more than the standard units, I guess it means that it incentivizes you to attack them first, which means that because there's so many of them surrounding you, you have to roll spam all over the place. Roll spamming felt so scummy in City, but here it's a necessity to do. So let's assume you do target a shield guy with your cape stun. For whatever reason in this game, the timing on this is either very buggy or very strict. It is extremely annoying in this game. In City, you either had to just cape stun somebody and then jump on them to them. In this game, you have to press both of them at the same time. And for me, that means spamming spacebar, which is pretty uncomfortable as a key to use for this. So the timing, if you're not perfect, you will just roll past them instead of jumping on top of them, making it where you lose your combo instantly and you cannot free flow then fly at people. You know, you just gotta start over. City's combat was made even more fun by all the special gadget properties that you get. When you had a free flow of 12 times or more, then the gadgets would get new properties, like the ice would have an area of effect, or the stun gun would have like a big lightning bolt that goes between people. In this game, they're just locked behind skill trees for some reason. There was no reason for them to do that. Now, maybe this is just me, but the audio design of the combat in Night is just a lot worse than in Cities. In Cities, you could very clearly tell which enemies you just kind of knocked down and which ones were completely knocked out. This game added several new bone-cracking sounds to the point that I can never really tell when a combat encounter is over. And the only way I can tell that it's over is my final nitpick, which is the fact that when you finish a fight, Batman does this little animation where he stands there and fiddles with his gauntlets while it shows you the XP. You're just completely locked in place for a second or two while this happens, even if you spam every button you have. If you're trying to go around and do a whole bunch of things at the same time, it just really feels like you're stuck in the mud for no reason.
Cherish me, always share a part of you, Sherry.
The abundance of new and stronger enemy types in the Predator sections is probably this game's biggest strength, I'd say. For example, you have the minigunners that you either need to save for last and beat them down. You have to use stronger takedown tactics like walls and explode them, or you have to use dual combat takedowns like with Robin. All of these are really fun. And also there's a new challenge in picking your target order, like prioritizing medics first and the drone guys and sabotaging them. I think that's really fun. I also like that there's enemies that incentivize you not to use detective mode as much. There's guys with gadgets that will detect your location if you have it on for too long, and there are also some enemies that are invisible to the scanners. I think those are really cool. I just wish the game didn't wait so long into the story to introduce them. I think the first time I saw those invisible guys was after beating the Arkham Knight. I feel like you literally are like 80% of the way through the game or more before the most fun enemies in the game appear. Isn't that weird? Multi-fear takedowns are a big point of contention among people, where in a stealth section you can take down between 3 to 5 guys depending on your upgrades in a single button click. At first I thought that was really, really cheap, but I like that you have to earn it. You know, it's an ability that recharges, and honestly, you could just not use it if you don't want to. Usually I'm never a fan of just don't use the thing the game gives you, bro, as an argument, but I feel like this is the one and only place where it is applicable, because it is up to your decision how you handle a combat, or stealth encounter, rather. The new gadgets are all pretty neat. I like the disruptor, the hacking device, and the voice synthesizer. They're all very fun to use in stealth sections. The one thing I don't understand is how the ammo on the disruptor works, because I assumed that after you beat an encounter it would just refill like your health does, but oftentimes I get to a new stealth sequence, like when I'm jumping between all of the like towers, and I'd only have like 2 or 3 shots instead of the full 4. No idea why it does that, I just have to deal with it. I don't have a lot to say on the upgrade trees, it's just that there's way too many things on there. And I get that it would be overwhelming to a player to have everything unlocked immediately, but there's a lot of these that just should be unlocked at once. Like, for example, all the different gadgets while gliding. Why do you have to do them individually? You know, like, who the fuck is out there trying to get, oh yes, I can't wait to use the electric gun while gliding? I literally never did any of them. I don't think I ever used the ability to throw things while gliding a single time in all my playthroughs. I just couldn't be bothered to unlock them. Alright, let's get to the elephant in the room, the Batmobile. With such a wide open space, the devs figured it'd be fun to drive around Gotham, and it is. But God, they decided that every single aspect of the game needed to involve the car in some way. It's not enough that you have to drive around the place for half the quests. Need a space of the map open? Use the car. Need to arbitrarily traverse an area in the main quest? Use the car. Riddler puzzle? Half the goddamn things use the car. The tank combat and the bomb defusal is so massively overstayed its welcome by the end of the game, to the point that I never wanted to use the car again. But guess what? You go to the AR challenges, which replace the previous game's challenges, and they spend a significant time and energy of the development of the game making fucking racetracks. And the fucking racetracks suck! Okay, they look cool, and they capture the feeling of the respective Batman movies, but why do they have to involve the Riddler controls? That makes them even worse. It's so ass. It just feels so shitty when you're driving and you see this orange thing up ahead, so you're like, oh, okay, I'll preemptively press the button. And, ooh, looks like you're crushed to death by some blue thing that didn't even exist until the moment you press that. Wow, good design. Not to mention that the whole map it's just like a lot of open world games where it has these bridges that connect the areas. You can't go to them until you progress the main story, And the reason for that? Because of the car. You could just glide to any area of the map you want the moment you start it up, but guess what? The car needs to get to places before anything can happen there, because the car is more important than Batman is. The usage of the Batmobile is so clearly a thing that the devs were so proud of that they have to shoehorn it in so often when it doesn't belong, even in the story. During the main quest, near the end, there's a scene where we finally get some time with Scarecrow, Barbara, and Gordon, and it's just a really beautifully crafted scene. Like, it's all in one take, the camera flies around them, and Scarecrow throws her off the tower, and Batman dives down to save her, and then they duck behind a wall, receiving a hailfire of bullets, and it's supposed to be like a desperate 11th hour. Such a great scene. And then, oh my god, I wish I recorded my reaction to this scene. I was sitting there thinking, please, please do not undermine the emotional stakes of this scene by bringing the fucking car in as the savior. Not only do they bring the car in as this triumphant moment, it's a fucking cop-out. Like, yes, Batman has, like, spares, I get it, very funny. But the game tried its best to make the whole Arkham Knight destroying the car some emotionally impactful moment. Like, the car I've had this whole time is dead? Yeah, sad face. But no, it just brings it back. I was so happy when the car was destroyed. I was hoping we wouldn't have to rely on it anymore. But deep down I knew that being an open world game, the player still needs it to do other quests, so they couldn't just change the status quo, you know? I'm making it sound a lot worse than it really is, but it's just the fact that nothing in the game gets by without the car making its annoying ass presence known. It permeates through the game's whole soul. I wish you could at least be stylish with it, but get this, you can't even use the other Batmobile skins. They're locked away to races. Are you dead ass? That's arguably just as bad as the baffling decision to have Arkham City's different DLC skins locked to New Game Plus. Like, what the hell were they thinking there? At least in this game you could use them immediately, but just, God. They really do try to make the player fall in love with the car, even to the point that there are dedicated stealth sequences with it. Like, I think the Cobra sections are fun. I enjoy doing them. Just like anything that makes Batman sneaky around a stronger enemy is fun. But God, it again just undermines things it shouldn't. Like, I'm going to go on a limb here and assume that other people probably had the same reaction I did when seeing Deathstroke, the legendary Slade Wilson himself, beaten in fucking tank combat of all things. Does he even pilot tanks? Like, what? And then he gets pwned by Batman in a single cutscene that's outside of the player's control, and then he's carried back, inside the Batmobile. Batman did not beat him, his fucking car did.
At least I found my meteor boy.
And speaking of annoying, oh my god, if you thought that the Riddler trophies couldn't get any more annoying, this game has the absolute worst of them. There are 243 spread throughout the city, but the method of collecting them takes much longer than any other game in the series. The amount that you have to go out of your way is on par with Arkham Asylum, where in that game you have to travel through areas to get to other areas to get to them. In this game, the map is so huge that you have to move between Batman and then the car, then back and forth. It's just a massive headache. And the other problem is that this game's trophies are just asinine in design. Like, I won't lie, there are about 20 to 30 that I had to just Google, because they made no intuitive sense whatsoever. A great example of this game's design philosophy is in that one that's in the shipping container near Panessa. You know exactly which one I'm talking about. There are these steam pipes, of which the last entire game has taught you to throw the ice bomb at. You can look around with the Batarang, there's no solution, the ice doesn't work, no nothing. No solution presents itself, besides pulling a thing out of the side of the wall with the car. The answer? Spraying explosive gel onto that thing and letting it destroy the pipes. In not a single place before this moment has the player ever destroyed something with the explosive gel that was not either a cracked, like Zelda wall, or the little control panels that the militia has on the towers. How the fuck would you ever figure that out if the game has never even allowed you to spray the explosive spray on most surfaces? It's just so baffling. Another one that pissed me off is the Riddler bomb thugs. Batman's inner monologue says, "Oh, I need to use the Batarang to scope out the right guy." Then, for like 3 of these puzzles in a row, you do just that. There's some little green electricity somewhere in the area that you're supposed to send the Batarang through, and then fry the bomb inside the guy. Makes sense, but once you know the answer, it's a little bit repetitive. So how does the game ease you into another solution? It doesn't. It just doesn't at all. The fourth one that I did on Miyagani Island, there was no electricity. No answer to the puzzle, no environmental clues, no hints, no nothing. Just searching around the place with a batarang for like 20 minutes to find nothing. The solution in the end? You just used the fucking electric gun on the guy. Are you dead ass? I don't know what's a worse design. The fact that it makes no attempt to tell you that you can use that besides just figuring like, I guess that makes sense, I guess. Or the fact that you could have just used the electric gun on all the other ones, and it just trivializes it. Why didn't Batman think to mention that? Like, what? There are several more like this, but I just can't be asked to go through them. Moving on to Riddler himself, he's the worst piece of shit in this game. I like the intercom taunting, I really do, like when it's Strange or Scarecrow or Joker, but Riddler feels less like a Batman villain here and more like Wheatley in Portal 2. Like, I really like the questline where you help Catwoman with the puzzles, even if it did include a lot of those shitty Riddler races. But it was at least worth it just to hear the Bat and the Cat banter with each other.
Another one? What's Eddie's problem?
Fanatic narcissism, egocentrism, and megalomania, crossed with severe obsessive compulsion.
Thanks.
Don't mention it. There was a break-in at the Museum of Gotham. A valuable gemstone was stolen.
What? No. Who could do such a thing?
Just put it back.
But then, in one of the worst decisions I have ever seen in game design, once you save Catwoman, she joins you together for a final boss fight against Riddler, where he appears inside this gigantic robot, and you start fighting him, and then after about 10 seconds, he just disappears from the room, and he says, go find my other riddles, Dark Knight Detective. Go collect my papers, bitch. Talk about an anticlimax, Jesus Christ. What were they thinking? Like, keep in mind as well, like, I did not want to give Riddler the impression, my final impression of the game, you know, I didn't want it to be, he's the final boss that I fight. So instead, I made sure to do all the side quests before finishing the main game. So now I had to go on a 200 trophy, like, collection before finishing. God. And this was just horribly unfun, unlike all the other games in the series. But at least I did this here, because, oh my god, if I didn't, after you beat Riddler, and then I went to go beat the final boss of the game, well, guess what? You can't actually do it until you 100% all of the side quests. Good thing I did that first and immediately got the thematic payoff of the game's, like, final mission. Because if I didn't, imagine that. Imagine having to unmask Bruce, and then, job is done. Well, actually, no. Riddler's bitch ass is still waiting in an orphanage for several hours. Now, go around finishing all your side quests, and then you get the ending, and by then you forgot what the hell, like, Scarecrow was even doing. Just baffling, awful game design. I have no idea what they were thinking there. And this brings me on to the story. And the story is really not this game's strong suit. It's really not in any of the games, to be honest. I get that City was written by the legendary Paul Dini, but in that game, Batman's, and by extension the players' attention was just so caught between so many things going on that it's hard to get a feel for what's even happening. Like, oftentimes you'd be sitting there going through the whole demon trials in the Wonder City, fighting Ra's al Ghul, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot Joker was in this game. You know, then you finally get to see Hugo Strange, and he's gone as fast as he arrived. There's just no setup and just very meh payoff. So, Night, by virtue of its open worldness, is the same way. It just doesn't give credence to the story being something that needs attention. What I mean by this is you have the villain like Scarecrow, who I love. Scarecrow, is one of my favorite villains. He's just not really much of a threat. You know, if you just go do 10 hours of side quest and then come back, like, what was even going on? A cloudburst or something? And then you confront him and you remember, oh yeah, there's the whole Jason Todd side thing going on. It's just pulled in so many ways. Honestly, the side quests were more interesting to me than the main quest, like the Killer Croc one, Man-Bat, Dent at the banks. They were some of the most interesting stories here to me. They felt like episodes of the animated series. Which reminds me that the game just arbitrarily restricts certain quests until mainline progression has caught up. Like, I guess it's to pace you, but if you love Kirk Langstrom's story and you want to see the conclusion to Man-Bat, too bad, you gotta wait until the main quest is at 80% or so, to see the rest of it. And also, side note, for some reason the game has a red cross over the quest that you can't do yet. But it didn't have this over Riddler's, despite not being able to reach Founders Island without the car to do his race. So, I guess it's because trophies were still doable, but that's just weird. Anyway, back to the main quest. What actually happens in the story is really interesting. I like Scarecrow's fear gas. I like when it's explored. It's one of my favorite things in Batman stories. Fear is power, after all. And for Batman to believe that Barbara is dead, that really raises the stakes, because there's a lot of moments where you see in this game that it's like, oh, this is definitely supposed to be the end of the story. But there's a lot of emotional stakes that just aren't paid off. Like I just said, when he discovers that Barbara is actually alive, I don't remember Batman having a single emotional reaction to this. He just brushes it off. Like, you'd think he'd feel some sort of jubilation when she, appears. His relationship with Tim also, just during the whole mini Jokers thing, was so strange, because it's completely in his character in the Arkhamverse to keep Tim in the dark about it, and just really strain their relationship. That makes sense from what we've seen before, but the fact that he locks him in a cell, knowing that Scarecrow is out for his loved ones, like what are you thinking, Batman? Oh, and speaking of mini Jokers, I really respected Arkham City for killing off the Joker and actually being serious about it instead of being a fake out. But I just really wish he wasn't in this game. I do love a good Mark Hamill Joker, and his dialogue is really, really funny here, but I just wish he wasn't here.
Don't worry about Barbara, Bruce. I'm sure she's still alive and kicking. Well, not kicking, obviously, but you know what I mean.
Having Joker be Bruce's biggest fear in his psyche that needs to be locked away to beat Scarecrow, that's just so lame. This fucking clown is his biggest fear. There's several stories that play on his actual biggest fears, like losing his loved ones, failing Gotham. I guess we already did that with the fake-out scene in Asylum, but just this whole ending sequence was just, I don't know. I'm not huge into the Joker. I would provide my own answer as to what to do to be more constructive, but, fuck it. Jason is a topic that many people have a problem with, and I love the Red Hood. I love his whole thing surrounding Jason's death. And I don't have that much of a problem in the fact that he just appears when he's never been mentioned in the series before. My problem is that he somehow survived the Joker, somehow escaped Arkham, and somehow appears with an army, and just all of which you're supposed to just accept with no explanation. That's the part that I have a problem with. Coming off of the back of the previous games where I got the Game of the Year editions, I got the premium version of Night, and that includes all the DLC. So I played through all of them in one sitting after beating the game, and
Super.
I think they were some of the most fun I've had. I disagree with the idea of microtransactions in games as a whole, but, if these were just part of the main package, this is a very, very fun part of the game. My only problems with them are with things that are already problems in the game, like I said, like with the combat targeting, especially during the Robin and Nightwing sections, which, this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I hate playing as Nightwing. He's a very fun character, and I love his design and everything. He's just, the gameplay of him in both this game and City was just awful. I don't know why. A lot of people hate the Catwoman's Revenge DLC. I actually thought it was amazing. I thought it was the second best after the Family Matter. It had a mostly negative review on Steam, and it's mostly from people saying that the stealth sequence was bad or that the shrinking arena wasn't fun. I thought both of those were top tier. I think it's literally just a skill issue if you can't dodge the laser, to be honest. The Arkham series as a whole has had a lot of boss fights that are either good or really, really, really bad, at least in my opinion. And I think the Red Hood's boss fight against Black Mask is one of the best in the series. Having to continually dodge him while still keeping your combo up with other thugs, I thought that was a really fun part of the game. The final thing I want to critique here is the performance of the game. I played on PC, and from what I've heard, the game at launch was much, much worse than it is right now, which is barely functional. The first time I tried to load it up, it had a fatal error that said July build or something like that. Anyway, Googled it, very common issue. I had to go into the game's directory, change the name of certain files, and all that just to get it to work, only for it to crash about every 10 minutes. I dealt with this for like a day or two, but after that I felt like just giving up on the game. Then, for completely unrelated reasons, I was scanning my computer for corrupted files, because Windows 11 sucks ass. I'm like blue screening all the time. Point is, somehow, all of this fixed Arkham Knight, and I managed to finish the game with no more crashes. This is going to be one of the least stable games I have ever played. And I mostly play Source games, and that says something. The final crash that I had was at the end of the Family Matter DLC, where after the final cutscene and it gave me the achievement, then it had another fatal error. Thankfully, I got the 100% for it, because if I didn't, I would have been extremely pissed. It's just baffling to me that in this day and age, we still allow PC ports to be this dog shit. So those are my problems with Arkham Knight. It just made me sad, because I feel like Arkham Asylum I would give a 10 out of 10. I think it's essentially a perfect video game. City, however, was like an 8. That's where I felt like it was just a sharp decline starting to go down. And this game I would give like a 7. You know, it's crazy to me that they started with gold and then only got worse. So, and it's all because of the open world leading to a lack of direction, you know, and a lot of bloat as well. So those are my thoughts. You know, just some things I thought I would talk about. Let me know what you think.